welcome to season 4 of the Creative Sober podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
First podcast. Number 1, baby. First one I've ever done. So
thank you so much, and such an honor to have you on here, and you this being your first podcast and interview. Just to give you a little bit of backstory, which you already know, our podcast covers artists like yourself and what life looks like once getting sober, and how all creativity and everything entwines to that decision that you made for yourself. But before we go into that, could you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and some of your background and what you do?
Danny Coburn. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and I currently play with Whitey Morgan on the 78s, which is a traditional country band. We sound a lot like old Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard, and
Nice.
a honky tonk band is what we call it, and it's traditional American honky tonk music, which is loud, rowdy, not radio friendly. It's
it's a good time, yes.
Much like we were, or I am, or was, but yeah, and I've been a musician since I was 14. I was in a school band and eventually turned into a touring musician in my late teens. I was in a straight edge hardcore band where we were writing songs about not drinking, not smoking, and all that. That's when it started. Got real passionate about music, and it's helped me through so much. So it's what I do now for a living.
Yeah, in those bands, what do you play, Danny?
I play harmonica currently, but I play lots of instruments, and I was typically the front man for most bands, and was the singer. But I'm taking the back seat with my buddy Whitey. So we've been doing this off and on for a long time, since around like 2004.
Oh, wow, that's been a minute. You've got a lot of stories, which I hope we get into some of those today. So I mean, for those who are not familiar with the musician lifestyle, can you describe like some of those environments and what that looked like?
In that scene, and well, the scene I'm in now is similar to what it's always been, but it's always around. Alcohol, drugs, it's always around. And and here I am, I'm playing songs that most of them are about drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so to stay sober in this environment it's easy for me now. If I was doing it 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't still be sober. I would have probably fell into the hole. But for now it's easy because I'm over that hump. I don't know if everyone else went through it, but there's a certain hump that you go over where it's just so tough to even be in a bar or be around people that are drinking. But now I can't even imagine having a drink and how I would feel. So I know that it's not even a question. It's just a beverage choice at this point for me. Like, I'd rather have a Coke than
Right.
beer. So I'm over the hump. So it's fun. I mean, because there's a lot of guys that are sober that are in the scene now because they've realized that they can't perform the best when they're, in the bag. So
Right.
there's a lot of guys that are kicking it. A lot of guys are reaching out to me. I have about 5 guys that are, reaching out constantly within, once a week or so, like asking tips and things. And I'm always here to help, so. But yeah, it's been easier. Like when I first went back out with Whitey, he contacted me during COVID, and they were playing a show in Vegas, like right when the you can go out with the face mask thing and whatnot was going on in Vegas. So they played a show, and I had to go. I just had to talk to my old friend and reconnect, because we kind of story on that is, we had a falling out because of my drinking, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just so out of control. I was in the band about 10 years ago, and I got left. I got left in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
I live in Canby now, um, but yeah, I was left behind. And anyway, we hadn't talked for a long time, and we reconnected during COVID. And I went and saw him in Vegas, and he was like, "You should come up for a song," and I was like, "I don't know," because I hadn't performed sober on stage since I was a teenager. I mean, I was drunk at every single show,
Right.
way
Yeah.
throughout
Yeah.
my
Yep.
20s, 30s, and
Uh-huh.
so he had me come up, and he said, "Bring all your harps," because he knew he was going to ask me to do, I think, the whole show, and I did. But that was the toughest performance of my life, because number one, I hadn't been on stage for that long, in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I was sober. Three, my weight I was pretty big. I've been losing weight currently, so I was just, self-conscious, like just nervous, a nervous wreck, and
Right. And
but
that
I got over it.
no
I
booze to filter it too,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, once I did that, it was a test, and I knew that I could do it sober. And he invited me out for another show and
Mm-hmm.
another show. And once it got to the point where I got about, I think, a dozen shows under my belt, I was like, this is easy. And it goes by so much quicker because I'm not thinking like, I need a drink. I need a
Right.
when you're
Right.
on stage and you're drinking, you constantly are like, I can't wait for this to be over because I need that drink. But
Right. Yeah.
now it's like energy. I'll drink like a cold brew or, Diet Pepsi or whatever, and put it
Yeah.
in a little can koozie so everyone thinks I'm drinking like a Coors Light or something. But,
Right. Right.
I'm just up there enjoying the music, and it's so much better now that I can get into it and kind of lose myself in it again and be passionate about what I'm playing, because it helps the performance if you're really into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where I'm like, the last show we played in Detroit to a pretty much sold out crowd at the Fillmore just recently, and 4 songs, they just flew by because I was in it.
You were flowing.
My
Yeah. Yeah.
eyes were closed, and I was enjoying every moment I could, and I was like, man, this went by quick. And when the show was
Yeah.
over, I was like, it's already over. This is crazy.
Yeah. And that those are the peak moments. And like a lot of the artists who are coming forward talking about choosing sobriety and just, cleaning up their life and falling back in love with their art or their craft. It gets them to this place where it's who they are. It's that flow state of creating without, the drugs or the alcohol as a crutch.
You
Um,
reconnect with yourself,
yeah,
you reconnect with friends, and then you reconnect with things that are very important to you.
yeah.
And all these reconnections it's natural.
Hmm.
And it's almost like you took it for granted what you really cared about
Yeah.
until you're 100% firing on all cylinders, and you go, I just love music.
Yeah.
There's something about it, or I love art, or I love painting, or I love, whatever you're passionate about, the reconnection and the
Yeah.
feelings that you feel. Like, I was trying to explain this to a buddy of mine. He was asking, what was the coolest part of finding the sobriety.
Hmm.
And I said, there was this feeling that I had not felt since the last day of high school. Like,
Oh,
or like
wow.
the feeling of
Yes, that's it.
like the day before, or like the day that summer vacation's happening, that the
Hmm.
butterflies and that excitement.
Yeah.
I hadn't felt that in since I was a kid. And there was one day, I forgot what was going on, but I felt it, and I was like, man, if I could bottle that and just always feel that like excitement, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
reconnect with that feeling.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes we do get lost in a way where we think we can bottle it. And
Yeah,
it is reaching for a substance or alcohol because
right.
we think that is what's lubricating our creativity to put it out there. And, if you're someone who struggles with like, being like stage presence, or maybe you have some anxiety, or you have too much chatter or self-critic going on,
Yeah.
using or drinking helps lubricate that anxiety. And Danny, I want to take it back a little bit further back, that those 20, 30 years of when you were drinking. And like, it takes a person a few tries to get to the point of making an important decision like going sober.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through like some of that process? Like, how did you get to that point of making that decision for yourself?
Well, I had gained I was in depression. I was pretty depressed because my best friend Whitey, his name's Eric, but I call him, his nickname's Whitey, so I'll call him Whitey. But he, we had a falling out, and I was here, and I was just kind of sitting around, and it's almost like the party never ended for me in my mind. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
still hitting it hard every night, and it was every night. I mean, I was drinking a lot every night, and my wife, she drinks, and she still drinks around me, and it doesn't bother me. She has control over it. She doesn't have the ism, is what I call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can have a glass of wine, that's fine. Where I want to have all 4 bottles that's in the
Right.
fridge, But um, I was just really depressed. My band had broke up. I got fired from Whitey Morgan. I just wasn't near my parents. I wasn't near my family. I was just out here, and just a lot of trying to figure myself out. And I just kind of numbed it.
Mm-hmm.
Depression. And then my aunt, Kathy, died of alcoholism. And that was
Okay.
kind of an eye opener. And it took me about a year to figure it out that I was heading down the same path, because she had gained a bunch of weight. She was drinking every day. And my dad was telling me, because that's his sister, he's telling me what was going on, and it just didn't register.
Right.
And then finally, after about a year, I was like, oh, I should probably stop this. And it wasn't just that. It was also, I was just tired of feeling bad. I was just feeling
Right.
so bad all the time, waking up and having to figure out how to make myself feel better. And I just got sick of it. I mean, just my aunt was a good eye opener. And then selfishly, I was like, I got to quit feeling so bad. I want to get my weight down. And so it was kind of the two things that happened at the same time. Yeah. So that was the big moment, I think. Just
Yeah.
man,
It, what did your day one look like for you?
pretzels. I craved, I don't know what it was, but I went to the store and I bought like these 2 bags of pretzels, and I sat there and I ate these pretzel rods,
Mhm.
and I just kept eating pretzels, and I don't know, it was pretty funny. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It-
I and I downloaded this app that I still use. It's I Am Sober, and then also there's a day count one that I use,
yeah. Yeah.
and I downloaded that, and that was like, man, I'm gonna keep track. Just I'll see how long I can do this for.
Hmm.
And then when it was like 1 month, I was so excited, and then 2 months, and I was like, I'm gonna do a year.
Yeah.
After a year, I'm gonna
What was the difference that did you feel a difference? Like, when did you like, oh wow, this taking alcohol out of my life is making a shift in my health? Like, could you feel the difference? And when
not
did that happen?
yeah, it took for me, it took about 6 months for me to be like, okay, I'm making a good decision, because the first 6 months for me were really bad. I mean, I was just, I was craving it pretty bad because I had
Right.
quite a problem. I mean, I didn't realize I had such a problem until about a month in. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just got easier and easier. After that first month, it got easier and easier and easier. And I just found other things to do. I worked a lot on my car. I have a 64 Impala that I
Oh, nice.
that I
Okay.
turned into a lowrider during the whole thing. So, um, and then, now I'm into Harleys. And so I have hobbies that if I ever feel, and I don't really feel that way much anymore, thank God. But when I do feel like I need to get busy, that is what I call it. I need to go get busy. I focus. I go for a ride on my bike, or I, tinker on the car or whatever. So
Right.
I've been
Right.
blessed in that aspect where I have, things like that. But I would have found something, even if I didn't have those things. It's
Yeah.
busy mind is very important. Stay busy. If you
Yeah.
feel like you're going to go in that direction, and as my friend John C from Lucero says, don't go dark, turn that light on.
Yeah.
So turning that light on is very important. When you
Yeah.
start thinking those negative, like I got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Turn
find
the light on.
I find dark spots too. If I'm even sometimes because I do take the busy approach, if I get myself too busy and I can't really like hold on to a thought process or like follow something through, then that also is like a trigger for me too.
Yeah,
If I'm doing too much, then I'm like out of balance. And then that's when the outside chatter comes in, or that whisper
yeah,
starts creeping in. I'm like, okay, I need to recalibrate and like figure out, okay, what do I need to balance? Do I need to implement more like self-care, or do I need to take things off my plate, kind of thing? And I find it tilts the other way for me too. So I can't be extremely bored, but I can't be like
right.
fully like bogged down with
The
doing
happy
everything.
medium is important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What about for you? Like, how do you know when you're like, okay, I need to recheck this, like do a spot check on my sobriety or like my mental health?
When I start, and my wife will attest to this, I start ranting, and
Oh,
and
okay.
it gets like, I'm just like, I get, you know, why doesn't the mail come on time? Just little things will get to me.
Yeah.
And that's when I go, okay, I'm turning into the not nice guy. I have to go and do something, and I'll just go and tinker with something for a little while, and I'm fine. Or lately I've been getting on the elliptical machine because my doctor said I should probably do that. So
Mm-hmm.
get
Yep.
on my
Move
knees.
the body.
Yeah, so I move, I do stuff, I keep the mind busy. This podcast has to help you quite a bit too.
It
With
does.
stories and staying busy with it and everything. So I understand it. It's cool.
Yeah. There's something about like in a way it's accountability, right? But then also it keeps the story fresh, because the more time, and you've been sober for 5 years, is that
Six and a
six
half.
six 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 and a half,
Going
right?
on
So
6 and 7 months. Coming on.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. I made three this last July, and it's like the days stack and you move on with your life, and the obsession goes away. Might pop up here and there, but it's not as hard as maybe the first year of sobriety. So like sometimes you forget like what that point was where you did make that pivot, that decision to get sober. You forget maybe how hard it was. And then for me, like it's all around us, right? It's in our environments.
So true.
um so
Yeah.
there's like romanticizing about it, or like thinking of old times, because honestly they weren't all bad, right? It's not all bad. It's just the more the more bad outweighed the good times, and eventually I was able to make that shift. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely these stories and the podcast keeps me accountable in that sense.
Yeah. And it's also, it's a different look when you're drunk in your 30s or your 40s. It's a totally different look than when you're drunk in your 20s. It turns into sadness. Like, look at this guy, you know. And I just didn't want to be that guy, you know. But it's, you know, it's a different look, you know, and
It is.
especially when you're on stage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You go see a bunch of 40-year-old men on stage and they're all drinking. That's sad, you know, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's people that can handle it and can do it. I can't do that. I was a drinker till I passed out or blacked out or, you know, or ran out, you know, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you know, I don't miss it though. There's so much, like, it's so normal in American culture, you know, and it's funny, like, it took me about a year to realize that if you watch TV, there's always somebody having a drink.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's always a beer commercial. There's always, you know, it's so normal, and you don't realize, like, that they're pushing it so hard.
Mm-hmm. It's
Until you're
subliminal.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're pushing it hard, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize it until you're about a year in. You're like, wow, I'm kind of against the grain, or I'm kind of rebelling right now. This is like the ultimate rebellion. What I'm doing.
It is.
Being a 40-year, you know, 46-year-old guy, like, not drinking is like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, normal is this way. So
Yeah. I mean, Danny, what do you say? Like what are some of those circumstances where someone does question why you're not drinking? Like
I've
how do you
been,
handle that?
I think I'm a little intimidating, so nobody really, you know, I'm kind of a big guy and I'm tattooed and whatever, and I play with Whitey, and I've been fortunate. There's only been a few people that are like, what? Come on, or like, but I'm surrounded by people that, and this is by choice. I kind of weed the people out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surrounded by people who respect my sobriety, and that's important too. Because
Right.
if you're around people that are constantly, and I've moved away from people that were like, come on, tonight's the night, or when you do it, you better call me up, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these aren't
I've
my
had that.
friends.
Yeah.
These are not people that respect me or anything that I'm saying or doing. So, but now I am around friends, and I can honestly say that everybody that I am around now is my friend, and they respect. So I don't get questioned a lot about it. You know, like, if I'm at a bar sitting with them, the
Mm-hmm.
bartender will be like, "And what do you want?" I'll be like, Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke, whatever." And they're like, "All right." You know, it's acceptable now, whereas about 10 years ago,
Right.
bartender would be like, "No, come on, get a beer, come on." You know, it's
Yeah.
on.
On the house.
Yeah,
Right.
like, no, it's not. Yeah, but it's a little more acceptable now, I think, and this podcast, like, things like this are helping, you know, bring awareness to it, that, you know, people are trying to quit doing some normal stuff, you know, and you know, strength is in numbers. So if we all kind of talk about this openly,
Mm-hmm.
like with this podcast and things like this, then you know, more people will be aware of it. And
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's not militant, it's not preachy, and it's just, you know, we're all going through kind of the same situation, and it's you know, we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's healthy. Yes. It's healthy.
it's a good problem to have, to,
Mm-hmm.
to be doing this. So
Well, it's that stigma, that it just, especially musicians, right? Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
oh
It
yeah,
just comes with it. It's like that is the blueprint of being a musician for a really long time. And so to hear of something different and someone be successful at it and happy with what they're doing, it's a new concept. But at the end of the day, it makes sense. Like you were going back to feeling good now. Like you didn't feel that. The last time you felt that was at the end of high school,
yeah,
right? We weren't born drunk. Like that's not how we came into this life to create.
right.
So it's like getting back to that place. And somewhere along the way we got sold this this storyline of this is what the lifestyle is, and we've lost so many good people over it who were just amazing artists
Yeah.
because of trying to live out this lifestyle, and so like if we can have more of these stories, and like you said, there's strength in numbers, there's hope out there.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that even the purest form of creating expression and the music that's being delivered comes from that place of just true authenticity,
Yeah.
and that's where it is. Like music is a spiritual experience. So if you can tap into 100% of that, good for you, man. Like
Yeah.
that's where you want to be.
Yeah. And it's funny because, there was somebody backstage in Cincinnati, someone, I forgot who it was. They asked me, they were like, isn't it weird being sober and, singing songs about drinking? And I'm like,
Yeah, how is that?
I
Yeah.
remember how it felt to be in that bar at the very end of the bar, drinking a shot of whiskey and having a cold beer. I remember that feeling
Hmm.
of that, like I'm alone in this bar. I have this like, kind of depressed feeling with the neon lights and everything. I remember that feeling. So I can tune into that feeling still, but not be drunk feeling that feeling. And it's because of the music. So it's like this, it's got soul to it now. And
Yeah.
like it's got this
Wow.
vibe that it didn't have before. Like I can listen to Merle Haggard, who I love Merle Haggard, but his songs, a lot of them are sad drinking songs. And a lot of people didn't know this, but Merle wasn't much of a drinker, and he just had this view of that guy at the end of the bar that was drinking. And now I kind of can vibe with that now.
Yeah.
Not a drinker anymore, but I remember what it felt like.
Right. Right.
It's a whole different trip.
Wow.
So it's different, and I like it a lot more. And I can get lost in the music more and be Danny, not drunk Dan up there is doing like, what do you guys want to hear? I don't care. Let's just do whatever. Party.
Till the sun comes up, right? And beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more of a, just feeling the music more, and, you know, just like when I was a teenager, just like, we were talking about that feeling in high school.
Hmm.
And I was so passionate about punk rock and hardcore, and when I wasn't drinking, I was just so like into it, like Victory Records, 1994, 95, Earth Crisis, stuff like that. I was such a little hardcore kid. I loved it so much. And then 21 happened. Boom. Like, all right, man. AC/DC it is. Throw it all out the window. Just, but yeah.
You live to tell about it, though.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not going
Mhm.
anywhere for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta
Danny,
work.
what is one thing that you're proud about?
I'm proud of oh man, that's a good question. It kind of threw me off guard there. I'm proud that I have maintained relationships through that crisis that I went through,
Yeah.
Um, a lot of guys, a lot of people in this industry, when they go through something like I did, which was just depression and not having a band, and they get forgotten, they get lost. But I have a good base around me. My wife is amazing. My family's amazing. My friends, my true friends, are amazing. Um, and I've just been lucky in that aspect. So I'm proud that I've made the right connections through life.
Yeah.
And and it's great that some of my old drinking buddies are reaching out to me, and they're asking me
Yep.
how can I do this? Like, what should I do? And it's amazing. That's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of just having the people around me, and that
Yeah.
I've kept that relationship with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just
Hard to
have
do when
just
you're when you're three sheets to the wind most of the time.
Yeah, no kidding. And like you being just like an example for, I mean, yourself. I mean, you're living the best version of yourself. And to be an example of what that is, and your friends coming to you asking basically for help, right? And then you can be totally present and you have a story behind that to help them. And like it's so humbling to also have that as well, for folks to come to you and ask for help in that sense. So
Yeah.
um, it's amazing that you're here, Danny. And I am, I'm just really honored to have a space where we can share in this story. And, just even, I mean, Instagram, that's where we met,
Yeah.
and it was through some people and, and
Great.
yeah,
You're
it's just,
great. Yeah.
it's
She's
amazing
great. I love
how
her.
all of it comes together. And, what could you tell, like, what is something that you could share with someone who is looking to make the shift in their life to be sober as an artist? What is
The
something
first,
that they could gravitate towards?
I think the first thing that, I mean, it's hard to get up in a hotel when you're hungover. And if you're a touring musician, everyone, I'm sure everyone's like, "Yep, I totally understand that." You got to be checked out by 10 or 11.
Mhm.
They're banging on the door. You don't want to get out of that bed,
No.
and that's a good reason right there, because that anxiety, I don't wish that on anybody. I used to call it Mr. Scary. Mr. Scary's knocking on the door. It's like, because you just feel like you're being rushed, you're being pushed, you're being put
Mhm.
in that corner. Um, but also just health. I mean, if you love doing music, do it for yourself. The longer you do this, the longer you'll be able to do what you love, whether it be music, art, art, anything that you're creative doing. It takes your soul and your mind, and if you're
Mhm.
numbing both of them, you're not at 100% your potential. You can still be a weirdo. I'm weird, but I'm not drunk weird. So
Right.
the best part,
I love
I'm
it.
just
I love
weird naturally now.
it. That's the best kind.
I'm a weirdo. So and it's, if anyone's ever thought, I'm just tired of this. I'm just tired of this. That's when it's time, because it's never because of someone else. It'll never work. It's never because of I got in trouble. That doesn't work. It's always just yourself saying to yourself, I'm just sick of it. I'm over it. I can't do it.
Mhm.
And if you have ever had that thought, that's when you should do it.
Mhm.
When you should just say, I'm done. If you have a bottle in the pantry or in the fridge or whatever, just dump it out and just see how long you can go. And that's what I did. I was like, I'm gonna go a month. Then a month felt good, and I was like, I'm gonna do 2 months, and you just keep going. And like, get the app, download an app that counts the days, because that gives you a goal. And it's not, it's and it can be content for your Instagram account like mine. Like, I'm just like, every month I'm like, boom, all right, because it pops up, it notifies me when,
Right.
you know so it's just, it turned into fun after about a year. But just that first notion of, I'm sick of this,
Mhm.
that's when you should pull the trigger on it, because it's the best decision I ever made. 100%. I've made a lot of decisions in my life, and this is the best one, um, for everyone involved here, me and everybody around me. So
Right. Right. Danny, that's powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. And
great.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks who want to know where you hang out, especially on social media. So, where can our listeners find you and follow?
I'm on Instagram quite a bit, and I post I post a lot of dumb stories. So, but Danny Raincheck is my Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on there much. It's kind of a nightmare on Facebook. I stay away from it. But I'm mainly on Instagram. Danny Raincheck is what I go by on there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hey, thank you so much. This was great.